With His Excellency Peter Obi's tour in Houston ongoing, activist Moses Paul took to his X handle on a tweet describing the tour. In his tweet, he said, "Reflecting on our time in Houston, I am deeply touched by the heartfelt gratitude Mr. Peter Obi extended to each of you. His words went beyond simple thanks. They underscored the powerful bonds that unite Nigerians at home with those abroad. Houston, with its rich diversity and resilience, mirrors the very values upon which a revived Nigerian can be built." Mr. Peter Obi shared his vision for a new Nigeria straight from a heart, a Nigeria where we are no longer confined by past limitation, but driven by the hope and energy of its people. He spoke of a nation where leadership is genuinely accountable to its citizens, where transparency is not just a slogan, but a foundational standard, and where governance seeks to uplift rather than hold back its people. In his vision, this new Nigeria is one where merit triumphs over mediocrity, where every individual, whether from the bustling city or from the very remote areas and villages, has a real chance to succeed. It is a nation that truly values its people, harnessing education as a means to uplift individuals out of poverty and create pathways for growth, innovation, and widespread prosperity. Peter Obi's message resonated with clarity. This new Nigeria is more than a mere dream. It is a shared reality we can create. He reminded us that the future we hope for is way beyond our reach, but it demands our collective commitment, both from Nigeria and from our powerful diaspora. To the people of Houston, Mr. Peter Obi offered his deepest thanks for standing alongside this movement for change. Your belief in a better Nigeria fuels our determination. Together, we are building bridges, not only between nations, but between hearts and minds, laying the groundwork for a new Nigeria rooted in fairness, justice, and opportunity. The Nigeria is not just possible. With your support, it is inevitable. Dr. Mo. Also, take a listen to what's trending now on Arise News.
With reactions trailing President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's directive to ministers and heads of federal government agencies to reduce the number of vehicles in their convoy to 3. The special advisor to the president on information and strategy, Bayo Ononuga, made the announcement in a statement on Thursday, saying that the directive is part of measures to cut the cost of governance. Let me read a part of his tweet. Bayo Ononuga wrote on X, "The cost-cutting measure was announced today in a statement signed by the president. In January this year, President Tinubu took significant steps to reduce government expenditure by reducing his entourage on foreign trips from 50 to 20 officials. For local trips, he reduced it to 25 officials. He similarly reduced the vice president's entourage to 5 officials on foreign trips and 15 for local trips. In the directive issued today, President Tinubu also ordered all ministers of state, and heads of agencies to have at most 5 security personnel attached to them. The security team will comprise 4 police officers and 1 Department of State service officer. No additional security personnel will be assigned," he ordered. President Tinubu instructed the National Security Advisor to engage with the military, paramilitary, and security agencies to determine a suitable reduction in their vehicle and security personnel deployment. All right, let's take some reactions from users on X. This is from Akin, who wrote, "This may be a good beginning if the following are equally reduced. 1. Number of trips out of the capital. 2. Unnecessary workshop that doesn't add to national efficiency. 3. Balanced budget to discourage borrowing. 4. CBN governor should have a limit to what he can buy 10 billion naira for official cars should be investigated. 5. Office of the First Lady should be scrapped immediately. 6. All contracts must be procured by our rules. Variations should be declared illegal. 7. Wike should show respect to every Nigerian. 8. The president should cut his trips. I mean, that was so funny. Not as funny, given that Wike only last week told people to shut up if you think you know something. Then let me take another tweet. This person wrote, let's give a resounding round of applause to our dear President Tinubu for his cost-cutting measure he just announced. I love President Tinubu. What about you? Another Twitter user goes, Godson, he wrote, my question is, what benefit would this reduction in cost of governance have on ordinary Nigerians? There is nothing to applaud the president for. Nigeria is in a state of nowhere. Fix that 89% of Nigerians can barely feed because of the high cost of foodstuff. Fix that. Dr. Abatia, you want to speak on this story?
Okay, very quickly. It's interesting that the presidency is now talking about reducing the cost of governance. Almost 2 days after that, the president himself further bloated the size of government. We had previously 45 ministers. By your own calculation yesterday, and by other people's calculation, we now have 48, which means the bureaucracy gets more bloated. Number 2, we've been talking about the Oronsanye report, which, recommended a leaner government. The Tinubu government at the time said they were going to deal with that report and implement it. This is almost the end of 2024. Nothing has been done. What we've been seeing, it's just cosmetic gestures. In January, the president said, he will reduce the number of entourage. But the same president has traveled 29 times in 17 months. The vice president has traveled 17 times in 17 months. It will have become 19, I think, if he had gone to Samoa, Apia Samoa, except that the windshield of the aircraft, was said to have been damaged in New York. I don't know how that could have happened. But, we have enough aircraft in the field. They could have sent him another aircraft in any case. But they say somebody else, one Mr. Lawal, we now go to Samoa, where an important conversation is taking place. But I digress. Now, again, in 2003, the Obasanjo administration addressed this issue of cost of governance by introducing a monetization policy. Under the monetization policy, things like civil servant, domestic servant allowance, medical allowance, housing allowance, vehicle utility allowance, and all these allowances were monetized and put into the, the salaries of public officials. For persons above level 8, from level 8 and above, 200% of annual salary. The question to ask is, what happened to monetization policy? Because the statement by Mr. Ononuga is saying, a minister cannot go about with more than 3 vehicles. Who is providing those vehicles? Is it not covered by monetization policy? Has the monetization policy of Nigeria, has it been abandoned? And then security personnel, 4 policemen, 1 DSS detail. Okay, maybe because these are persons of interest, VIP movement. But those vehicles, who is maintaining them? Money was even provided for vehicle loan and for fuel under monetization policy. I think that is a bigger issue added to the other issue about, how to have a lean government. The Tinubu government keeps getting fatter and fatter, and yet we get this occasional thing about cosmetic gestures, about reducing the cost of governance. No, they are not reducing the cost of governance. I will believe that they are reducing the cost of governance when senators and House of Reps members stop going about in long convoys, and the president comes to Lagos and he himself uses just 3 cars.
Show by example.
And we don't see any long convoy.
Fantastic, fantastic, Dr. Abati. You cannot be more correct. Lead by example. Rufi.
So Dr. Abati here always tells a story of when they went to the Netherlands to make, it was Mark Rutte then, the Prime Minister of the Netherlands. I want everybody watching me out there to please check the GDP of the Netherlands. And the Prime Minister was riding a bicycle. And also, please check the GDP of Nigeria. And President Tinubu just bought a big jet for himself.
Yeah.
The first way to cut cost of governance is to cut that jet off. That plane is too big, Oji. The government has not given us in calculative cost how much it costs to fuel that jet for every trip it takes. We need to be able to get to the end of that matter. Secondly, I mean, we've talked about how bloated the cabinet is.
Yeah.
But even some decisions, bringing about a livestock ministry, which should be normally under the agricultural ministry.
We've talked about it. Under agriculture,
and
yes.
You are trying to subsume a Niger Delta ministry, which is the key productive part of this country. Most of the forex of this country come from that Niger Delta ministry. So you wonder how we're thinking.
Yeah.
And most of the hitherto cuts that they've made in government, how has it changed anything? Did they even follow the cuts? The office of the First Lady, the other day, she was telling porkies by saying that, oh, nothing comes to our office. But we found out that it was all porkies, that over billions were allocated for her to buy cars. Also, all sorts of government shenanigans, projects and everything. Recently, we brought out a stat that says how many billion was spent on getting visas for government officials.
Yes, that's what
so the true cost of government, cutting cost of government starts with President Tinubu. He needs to cost his cost.
Yes.
All the money that comes to the presidency need to be slashed in half.
Yep.
President Tinubu, you and your wife said you were rich already. Take up some of these bills. Right. The same president that his son was using presidential jets, wasn't it?
I saw that video. Yeah, I mean, talking about the visa story.
Use personal money to run Nigeria.
Yes. Well,
I'm not saying she uses personal money. No. I'm saying because of your own personal money, cut some of these luxurious costs. We can't afford your lifestyle. We knew you were already rich before. You had your own private jet before you came to be president of Nigeria.
Rufai,
we're saying cut your own lifestyle. We can't afford your luxuries.
Rufai, talking about the private jet, somebody just sent me a video of the Singaporean PM, Lawrence Wong, traveling on a commercial flight after state protocols. But I mean, I know that it's going to be a huge, far-fetched idea for Nigeria for now, for using, I mean, commercial.
The British PM flies British Airways.
British Airways. Yes. This is the Singaporean PM flying a commercial. But I mean,
sell off that big jet. Call the likes of Airpeace or other Nigerian airlines. Tell them to allot one jet that you can use for your foreign travels. Sell off that big jet. It's too costly, too expensive for us.
Well, a good point as well, Rufai. It was 44 million naira in 1 month on visas for presidential aid. I mean, come on. Something's got to give, as we always say.
Some of those visas are sometimes given gratis.
Yeah, well, those sort of conversations, when ordinary Nigerians see, they just, you know, they have no other option but to really complain. But in the meantime, the First Lady of Nigeria, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, on Thursday distributed 1,200 bags of rice to rural women, vulnerable and less privileged individuals in Anambra State to help cushion the effects of economic hardship. Well, Tinubu was represented by the wife of the Anambra State Governor, Dr. Nonye Soludo.
They don't collect the attack now. You understand? Because they say that we hold the attack. One person come collect, I carry like 10 back.
101 to 200. 101 to 200.
Rufai said, rice kimono, everything now rice. I mean, but people are saying that, you know, this distribution in Anambra State might be strategic as well. But let me take a story so you can tie that together. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has reacted to a video showing some residents of Cross River State scooping petrol from a fallen tanker just days after the Jigawa disaster. Let's take a look at that video before we take Atiku's tweet. The this is still so shocking to me, Ayo. But let me take Atiku's tweet. He wrote on Twitter, on X yesterday, I know that the times are tough for Nigerians. It has even been made more challenging by the trial and error policies of this bumbling administration. However, your lives are the most precious things that should never be mortgaged. This is why it is pertinent that the concerned government, MDAs, should commence a robust campaign to educate citizens on the dangers of scooping fuel from falling petroleum tankers. Your lives matter to you and your loved ones. Scooping petrol, a highly flammable liquid from a fallen tanker, is a suicide that no one should undertake. We've experienced too many tragedies from incidents such as the latest one in Cross River State, and everything must be done to avert another.
Absolutely, very well said. It's sad that despite the awareness raised, over about 140 people died in Jigawa State, a national tragedy. We talked about how dangerous it is. Yes, people are desperate, people are hungry, people want to make a quick buck here and there, but it's not worth it at the expense of your life. And I certainly agree with him that perhaps now that we see that it's a menace that's not going away because a lot of people are largely ignorant, just want to take a chance. And look at the number of vehicles around, driving around, the disaster that would have occurred if there was a spark. Look at that. Look at the road. It wouldn't just be the people scooping fuel. It would be the people on the road. As look at other tankers. There was traffic just by the side. It would have been an absolute disaster. I think beyond that, there should actually be punishments for people. I said yes, there should actually be arrests made, and there should be punishments. There should, because it's so bad, and the level of disaster and loss of lives that happens at the risk of this scooping of fuel, there should possibly be punitive measures, make it criminal offense, so that people understand the seriousness of this thing. Because when we're talking about this, it's not those who scoop the fuel alone that will be affected. Even innocent bystanders who have nothing to do with this would also be affected. So awareness, and kudos to the National Orientation Agency. We've seen a lot more campaign in terms of information given in recent times. We've talked about it, and so it's great to see them actually become very proactive. So perhaps this is one campaign that should also be taken, not just by them, but even players in the oil and gas industry as part of their CSR, raise awareness. Then going back to the First Lady's gift to Anambra State. You see, Oji, there's nothing wrong with giving people food, especially at a time like this where a lot of people are hungry. But the challenge is that we've become a rice economy where everything or any problem is throw rice. Problem, give rice. So it's the Renewed Hope and Rice Initiative, if I wanted to expand the name, whereby almost every problem, rice seems to tackle it. What then happens is that we almost socialize people into thinking that stomach or very low-level things for them to aspire to. We are not empowering people in the way that, not just giving them fish, but giving them the ability to be able to fish, and that's the challenge. So everybody is now looking at rice as a solution, as a savior, when we should be looking at more sustainable things to do for the people to ensure that not only can they afford to buy rice, but they themselves can become givers of rice to people. Absolutely. We need to move away from the rice economy and rice solution-driven, initiatives to actually empower them. But kudos to her, well done, but I think there can be more that can be done.
I love that. We need to move away from the palliative economy, because that's what we're running here in Nigeria.